Friends, I hope you are all well and studying in your home. Last week, in separation of substances, we already discussed about the hand picking and threshing. Today, we will discuss about the winnowing. So, for this, you have to do an activity. Make a picture of dry sand with sand dust or powdered dry leaves. Keep this mixture on a plate or a newspaper. Look at this mixture carefully. First, you have to take one sand, okay, one sand and in powdery form and some dry leaves, okay, sawdust you have to taken. Then you have to make a mixture. Can the two different components be made out easily? Are the sizes of particles of two components similar? Okay, you have to think about that. Would it be possible to separate the components by hand picking? After making the mixture of sawdust and leaves, can we separate them? Okay, of course not. Okay, when you do the activity, you easily understand it. Now take your mixture to an open ground and stand on a raised platform. Put the mixture in a plate or sheet of paper. Hold the paper or the sheet of paper containing the mixture at your shoulder right height, till the slightly till it slightly so that the mixture slides out slowly. What happens? Do both the components, sand and sawdust or powdered leaves, fall at the same place? Is there a component that blows away? Okay. Did the wind manage to separate the two components? So, this method, okay, you can easily understand that sand particles or will be falls down. Okay, if we put a mixture of some leaves and sand, and leaves will be fly away. This method of separating components of a mixture is called winnowing. Winnowing is used to separate heavier and lighter components of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. So, mainly winnowing is used to separate heavier and lighter components. If a mixture of heavier and lighter components are there as sand and leaves, we use winnowing. And you can see easily in your home when the grains of mainly wheat and rice have to be separate. This method is used in your home or in your village also. So this is the process of winnowing you can see in figure. Okay, this is called soup or suppa, which is used to separate the husk from the grains. As you can see, this method is commonly used by farmers to separate lighter husk particles from heavier seed grains. The husk particles are carried away by the wind. The seeds of grain get separated and form a heap near the platform for winnowing. This separated husk is used for many purposes such as fodder for cattle. Okay, now we move to the next method of separation, which is sieving. Sometimes we may wish to prepare a dish with flour. Okay, whenever we want to make a dish or we want to make breads, mainly in our home, breads in making, okay, by flour, we need to remove impurities and bran that may be present in it. What do? We use a sieve and pour the flour into it. Figure 5.6 you can see in your book. This is the figure of this is sieving method. Okay, sieving allows the fine flour particles to pass through the holes of the sieve while the bigger impurities remain on the sieve. Okay, you this is a very easy method and you can easily get aware about it because you see in your home daily. In a flour mill, impurities like husk and stones are removed from wheat before grinding it. Usually, a bagful of wheat is poured on a slanting sieve. The sieve removes pieces of stones, stalk, and husk that may still remain with the wheat after threshing and winnowing. So, sieving, what sieving helps? It helps in remove pieces of stones, stalk, and husk that may still remain with the wheat after threshing and winnowing. Okay. Mm, in construction sites you also see this type of sieves. Okay, as you see in 5.7 figure. Okay, where the road making process are going on nowadays, so you this figure you can easily understand. Now you have to do an activity. Bring a sieve and a small quantity of flour from home to the class, or you can do this activity in your home. Sieve the flour to separate any impurities in it. Now make a fine powder of chalk pieces and mix it with the flour. Can we separate the flour and the powdered chalk by sieving? Sieving is used to when components of a mixture have different sizes. But you can see here that if we mix powder and flour, what it will become, chalk powder and flour, what it will become, they mix with each other and we can't separate them because their sizes are somehow equal. Okay, so we have to do a different method for that. So now the process of sedimentation, decantation and filtration takes place. Sometimes it may not be possible to separate components of a mixture by winnowing and handpicking. For example, there may be lighter impurities like dust or soil particles in rice or pulses. How are such impurities separated from rice or pulses before cooking? So we know that how can we remove them? Rice or pulses are usually washed before cooking. When you add water to these, the impurities like dust particles, because we dust particles is not get separated by winnowing, or you can say that hand picking method. Okay, get separated by this. If you pour water onto it, these impurities go into water. Now what will sink to the bottom of the vessel? Rice or dust? Why? Have you seen the vessel is still to pour out of the dirty water? Okay, when the heavier components in a mixture settles after water is added to it, this process is called sedimentation. Okay, when heavier mixture, same mixture, you can say that sand particles, if you mix sand particles in water, they will be settled down after sand. Okay, we can pour muddy water like that. Here you can read in further. When the water along with the dust is removed, the process is called decantation. When we remove water also, okay, which includes dust in it, this process is known as decantation. Let us find a few other mixtures that can be separated through sedimentation and decantation. The same principle is used for separating a mixture of two liquids that do not mix with each other. Immiscible liquids, these are called. Okay, for example, oil and water. We already read about it that oil and water not mix with each other. Okay, can be separated by this process. If a mixture of such liquids are allowed to stand for some time, they form two separate layers. The component that forms the top layer can then be separated by decantation. Okay, let us again consider a mixture of a solid and liquid. After preparing tea, what do you remove? The tea leaves. Okay, usually we use strainer to remove tea leaves. You easily see this process in your home also. Try decantation, it helps a little, but do you still get a few leaves in your tea? Okay, if we try decantation method, but somehow some tea leaves, if somehow strainer is not available at home, you easily see that this process is do by your parents also. Okay, now pour the tea through a first you see the figure of two immiscible liquids separated into components of mixture by sedimentation and decantation. Okay, here soil and water are mixed in this solution, and undissolved material like soil will be get separated by that process, decantation by decantation. Did all the tea leaves remain in the strainer? This process is called filtration. Okay, if you see figure which we already seen last week, okay, 5.1, this is separating tea leaves with the strainer. Okay, so this process is called filtration. Which method of separating tea leaves from prepared tea is better, decantation or filtration? Okay, so you can easily say that filtration is more better. Let us now consider the example of water that we use. Do all of us at all times get safe water to drink? Sometimes water supplied through taps may be muddy. Okay, muddy water will be contained nowadays, rainy days. Okay, and rainy days. Sorry. So in rain, it will be much chances to get muddy water. So you can easily do this process. The water collected from ponds or river may also be muddy, especially after rains. Let us see if we can use some method of separation to remove insoluble impurities like soil from the water. Okay, so you can see this process and try to read about this activity, and we discuss it about in next week. Thank you.